All right, so Google is in bad shape at the moment. I think they are being beaten by OpenAI for a long time now. I think for 2 years, and there is only bad news coming from Google, which is funny, right? So let's start here and see the news. So Google should be forced to sell Chrome browser, just department say. So has been a trial for a long time now, where the Department of Justice of the United States, they're trying to figure out whether Chrome is a monopoly or not, and if it is, they wanted to force Google to actually sell Google Chrome, because Google already have sort of monopoly on search as well, and they found guilty. So unfortunately, and as well, it's funny though that this is something that violates U.S. regulation, and this gonna put maybe gonna put in a halt on most of the things that Google plans to do, because Google Chrome actually is the major drive for search for Google, and I explain you why. So back when Sundar Pichai he lead the Chrome engine, the Chrome browser initiative, one of the greatest idea that they have is very simple. Is to instead of just typing the website on the bar on the top bar, you could actually search for something. So instead of you just put here google.com, right? You don't need to do this anymore. Just like it just wanted to know like what is the best LLM. And this, when we were introduced, it was mind blowing. Everyone shifted to Chrome straight away because it was very simple to do, and the tabs were very nice and neat. Even though Mozilla Initiative and Firefox and other web browsers they already have good tab tab stuff, but Chrome as well didn't have a lot of problems with cookies back then that were very problematic. But the idea that you could just do that was a major selling point for Chrome for the general public, and also was as well a major drive for Google to earn trillions and trillions with Google search, because back then when you type something like that you just go to Google, right? Today you have other searches. I have DuckDuckGo, that you wanted to shift to Brave as well, because there is some news about DuckDuckGo. I'm going to explore later about it. But we see as well that Chromium, that the engine that Google Chrome is based upon, is within most web browser nowadays. So, for example, I use Brave browser, for example, and Brave browser is built on top of Chromium. And every time there is a new web browser, so for example, Arc browser, the Arc browser, this no this one this Arc browsers is based of Chromium, for example, and it's been very popular among developers nowadays. Microsoft Edge is a Chromium browser, and yeah, so most of the new browsers on the block, new kids on the block, they build upon Chromium. And Chromium actually, and the Chromium and the Chrome browser hosts two-thirds of the internet browser market share, which is very important to know that, because this is actually a huge monopoly, right? So you see how in 2010 here, the Internet Explorer was the leader, right? And then Chrome came over here and take the Internet Explorer. And funny enough, the Internet Explorer was so popular back then because number one was installed on Windows, and Windows, I think until today, is the operating system that's most installed in computers nowadays. Until today, and the point being is that Internet Explorer was for a long time used by enterprises. So enterprise companies, they always stick to Internet Explorer. They never allowed like their own employees to use other browsers as well. That was really interesting because I lived through that days, and I know I'm talking about. And I've developed for Internet Explorer. It was a piece piece of garbage, but yeah, here we are, right? And there's another implications as well about that. So first of them is Android. So because Chrome also is including a set of apps bundled with Android on phones as part of the mobile device ecosystem. And this is very important because when you do a search on Android, you actually using Google Chrome to actually do that search. So when there is that search bar on Google, so that's really important to understand that this is the major engine that drives users to go to Google, and that's was the major revenue of Alphabet. And this is like something that will break the company. It will make the company really have to reinvent themselves. And for one point, it's bad for the business. For one point, it's good because now they have to reshape it. They will have to reshape it, and this reshaping going to force them to innovate. But Google was pretending to actually use, use use Google Chrome and Google to actually present the new AI features that they're developing. So that's the interesting things. And the other side as well, uh, what DOG is doing is actually is way worse than they did with Microsoft back then. So like let's see, so like they tried to break up Microsoft in the early 2000s, like because it was illegally monopolized in browser market. If you know from that time, when when you buy a computer, you have to buy a CD to install a operating system back then, or the early end 90s, early 2000s, and before that, have to have a floppy disk. So to buy the CD, install the operating system, but the operating system didn't have a browser. You have to have the CD for the browser as well. So you have the Netscape, I think was the most popular back then, and then Microsoft within Windows 98, I think, they introduced Internet Explorer, and Internet Explorer was actually already installed into the Windows itself. And this was a major shift because then people stop buying or getting the Netscape CD or install Netscape because they already have a browser on their computer. They didn't need anymore a Netscape web browser. I liked it back then because I think it was better than Microsoft. I really like the aesthetics of the Netscape web browser. So it was really fun. It was really fun to use it, and and the people say that the Google case might take a few years to play out, but you know just as not quickly. It's not quickly startups, and we have to understand now what are the implications of that because Google can just sell Chrome. It's too important for them, and it's not gonna be something that's simple. And you have to remember that Google as well pay half the amount to Apple to have the dominance on search as well. So that's if you can find here. I don't have the Financial Times here, but Google pays like Google they operates a margin profit of 50% on advertising revenue, which is huge. And part of this revenue that they do, they pay loads amounts. So, like for example, to Apple, for Apple to make Google the default search engine for them. So, like when you go to Apple, you have the search of Apple as well. When you search something that goes through the internet to search for something, they actually Google pays a large amount of money to make their is the default as the default search engine for Apple, and because Apple doesn't have any search engine, and this is really interesting because as well this as well is on the eyes of DOG as well, so they might gonna have to stop as well paying Apple for that, or Apple already provides some other default stuff, but then I don't know what's gonna happen. And but this is the funny part is that since 2015, Alphabet took the do the thing right to the model, but Google removed "Don't Be Evil" from the model. And I see that what now with this trial why they did it because now they're just doing evil stuff, and it's really interesting. Yeah, but yeah, it's unfortunate that they have to go through that. I think that their stock are plumbing. The market is very worried about it. But at the end of the day, I think that uh, at the end of the day, the monopoly for me is not all that bad if it's only enforced by government. So I think like the Google having a monopoly on browser, monopoly on search, it never being something that was detrimental to the user experience. So we never had the problem with fall of quality. We have never problem with like searching on the internet. We all have options to go through, and criticism always happens. Even like they have monopoly, they have good service, they have criticism about like even more like since 2016 they start to use their algorithm to censor some sort of like searches. That's why people now shifting to they start shifting to DuckDuckGo, and they now shifting to Brave, and they are shifting to other search engines. They don't do this kind of algorithm creating to censor some sort of information. But on the overall, it's still like they still are a company that provide a good user experience both from browsing and searching. So, for example, Google announced recently that they're gonna block some sort of cookies. I don't know if they're gonna vanish the cookies all the way, but they're gonna block like a lot of cookies to be used. And this is good for a user privacy, for example, because there's a lot of websites they like have loads of cookies. And when you do like when you accept cookies from the website, you actually installing like 20 different cookies. They tracking your IP, tracking your user agent, which is your browser identification. So they cross referencing your visiting through different websites to create a profiling on you. So these these move from Google to actually block cookies when you have this monopoly on market is good. It's good in a way. So for example, for us, where we're gonna gain your privacy, but at the same time you're reducing competitiveness, because the other companies, they had the right to do that. They had the right to have cookies on their websites. They had the right companies that had the right to do that. Of course, we want transparency. We want these companies to be more transparent, what they do with the cookies, what they do with the information they gathering from us. But the websites are free. Google is free, and of course they have to use something to make money off of it, because it's all of this cost money to maintain, cost money to stay. And usually these companies, they go through the process of selling ads. That's why they have all these cookies. But we have to understand that the services was very good, but of course, we have a monopoly, and this is against the law. And now we're gonna see what's gonna happen next. All right. Okay. So what's your opinion about it? Let me know on the comments down below. If you like this video, leave a like and share with your friends as well for them to share their thoughts here as well. And that's it. See you next.